What is up? Wanted to give y'all a quick trigger warning as this episode contains some references to abuse. Timestamps for that are in the show notes. Otherwise, enjoy the episode. What is up, and welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. Gonna get right into it today. Got a special guest, Chucktown born and raised local amateur boxer Rachel Dunn is here. Rachel, what's going on?
Not a lot. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. I know you got an upcoming fight that we need to talk about, but first, I became aware of Rachel through Carolina Panthers Twitter.
Whew.
It's been a rough go. So when did you become a Carolina Panthers fan, and why are you still sticking with it like I am? Because Lord help us.
Insanity, self-hatred, and torture. It's
Typical.
been a rough going. God, I've been a Panthers fan for most of my life that I can remember. I was always interested in sports, but I didn't really have a team. So the first Super Bowl run year, that dreaded year with the Patriots, I started watching a little bit in the playoffs because I was homebound sick for a long time. I had like the worst ear infection ever. I was completely deaf. So what else are you going to do but just watch football and get immersed in football? So I followed that whole Super Bowl run. Unfortunately, the famous out-of-bounds kick kind of ruined it all for us, but I stuck with it forever. Through the thick and thin, more thick than thin, but...
So I'm curious, what has caused you more suffering? Being a Panthers fan or that ear infection?
Oh, being a Panthers fan. I'll take the ear infection all day.
Amen. So speaking of that, obviously the Panthers this offseason made a couple of big moves, got rid of interim coach Steve Wilks, who went 6-6, got us back in the playoff race, hired Frank Reich, who got fired from Indianapolis, to be the head coach, and we still have the ever-present quarterback issues. What do you think has gone on? What do you think about what's gone on this offseason?
Nothing good. So we can't even get a break in the off season. They have to, get us all year long. I was honestly, and it sounds ridiculous because it's football, it's supposed to be fun, but I was emotionally triggered by the hiring of Frank Reich. Steve Wilks was, you could tell how much better the players played under him. They rallied around him. They respected him. And they all made it so obvious that's who they wanted to lead them and be their coach. In my opinion, of course, I'm an armchair quarterback here, but armchair GM, but Frank Reich is not qualified or any more qualified than Steve Wilks. So it kind of seemed like it was almost a slap in the face to him. You can't help but wonder if his, joining the racial discrimination lawsuit with Brian Flores had anything to do with that decision. Something that's going to be in the back of my mind. Because I know he made, a big splash last summer or whenever he did that. And he spoke out about it, after his being dismissed from his interim coaching duties too. So,
yeah, it was super shocking since he did so well. Like he went 6-6, and this was a team who I thought we might be in the running to get the number one pick when Matt Rule was leading the way wherever he thought he was leading us. And so to have Steve take the same team, it wasn't like we had any huge changes, and turn it around to almost make the playoffs and still not get the job, I was like, damn.
I mean, and Steve Wilks, I don't know if he saw the writing on the wall or if he just, before Matt Rule's firing, had some ideas like I would do this differently or that differently. But, day one from naming him interim coach, he was making changes. he did a good job. It turned everything around. And, not to mention the fact that he has home ties with the Panthers, and that always helps. You tend to do well when you're comfortable and you're at home. So there was more at stake in it than just wanting a big head coach paycheck, like he actually had ties to the team. So I thought that was kind of a dick move. But then again, I haven't been a big fan of this ownership that much either. So
true. And to kind of tie it back into Wilks's involvement with the discrimination lawsuit, I mean, that's really like this would be my exhibit A. Washington Post did a great series about the lack of diversity in NFL head coaches. And they noted that since I believe 1990, 3 out of 14 Black interim head coaches have gotten the full-time head coaching job the next year. And all 3 had a record of at least 500. White interim coaches have gotten promoted 7 times after having a losing record as the interim coach. So it's like, I would just pull up the tape and be like, this is what Matt Rule did. And the Panthers way overpaid for him. Same team. This is what I did. What more do you need to see?
And it especially to tie it back to the Panthers and Matt Rule, his record, they stuck with him for so long for no reason. He had so many chances. And why don't we apply that same philosophy to Steve Wilks?
That's another, I keep pulling out stats, but I was curious about this. And Michael Harriot for the Grio did a study on this last year. So everything's accurate up to prior to this season. And white head coaches get a little bit more than a year longer to prove themselves than Black head coaches. And everything else is just about equal in terms of performance, which is also interesting since Black head coaches typically they're hired to clean up bigger messes. Mm-hmm. And Black head coaches on average have more than a decade of prior NFL coaching experience than their white counterparts. So you got to coach forever. Then you finally get a job. It's with a trash team. You pull it all together. And then we show you the door quicker. Sounds awesome.
I mean, it seems like a pattern too. Like you mentioned, they'll hire a Black head coach to clean up an absolute dumpster fire of a mess. They'll turn it around, maybe go like 8-8 or whether there's 17 games now, 8-9. Have a decent turnaround season, and it's that's not good enough. Like they get on the hot seat so much quicker.
So quick.
And you can't blame anyone for joining the discrimination lawsuit. And then we're adding like retaliation onto, coaches who have joined it. And it's messy.
Yeah. Come on, NFL. Do better. Speaking of doing better, what should we do at quarterback? Because I've seen some of the mock drafts, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Rachel, the GM, one of the most knowledgeable Panther fans I know. Armchair GM, do it. What do we do?
Anthony Richardson.
Really?
That's what I think. And this might be a stupid reason. It's probably why I'm an armchair GM. Other than the fact that I've also never even touched a football. But
well, look at what our normal GM is doing. So
fair. He seems to be a good personality fit with the vibe that the Panthers have historically had too. I mean, not to, we always, when we think Panthers, we somehow find a way to bring it back to Cam Newton. But Cam Newton succeeded very well under the system and culture that Carolina has. And he wasn't able to translate that elsewhere. And I think Anthony Richardson will bring some of that heart to it. Also, he's huge. He's what is he, like 6'4"?
He's built like Cam too.
He's huge. Dual threat is with our offensive line.
You got to be able to run fast.
I find very offensive for sure. You got to have some of those extra skill sets to have a chance at succeeding. So I think he'd be a good fit. If we go the draft route, I'd hate to see us go. I know like Carson Wentz's name is thrown around. I'm hiring other teams' rejects hasn't.
We've been great at that.
It helped us get very far. So why take another crappy losing season on someone we got from a different team who was failing there when we could just build from the ground up for the draft pick?
I agree, especially, I mean, the big selling point that they've given us on Reich is that he's the quarterback whisperer or whatever. So if that's true, you could not even like quarterback whisper. People have been shouting at Derek Carr and whoever to do better. You can't reach Derek Carr. Leave Derek Carr alone. I've seen that rumor floated. We saw, I don't know how much more Sam Darnold we need to see, but dear God. So yeah, if they're going to do something, I would prefer starting over with a rookie or maybe seeing if there's anything with Matt Corral and tanking for next year's draft. But just please, no more Sam Darnold. That's all I ask.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Sam Darnold had his fair share of chances. And a lot of times these college players who are just supposed to be so great when they get into the NFL, they just fail under the professional system, which that's another gamble that you do take too when you leave it up to the draft to find your franchise quarterback. But
this is why, like you mentioned, being an armchair GM, and like one of my mottos is that everybody's an expert, because I've seen what the experts have done. The people who are paid to do it, they can't do it. So we might as well do them a favor, help them help us so we can watch these games on Sunday, because it's been shit.
God, I probably only watched maybe 7 or 8 games in their entirety last
season. That's self-care. You can't just
it's for my mental health.
Yeah. So you just can't do that to yourself, because I was right there with you, because especially when we brought back Rule and Darnold to run it back, I was like, I'm gonna go for walks or play tennis or do something happy on Sundays. I'm not wasting time doing this.
No, because the next day is Monday, and then you're starting your bad mood a day early.
Exactly. Only good thing about Monday is Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers comes out. So
fair. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that one.
Thank you. We can continue with the interview. So speaking of that, the reason you are here, April 6th, 7 p.m., TD Arena, where the Cougars play, you are going to be boxing. First things first, how did you get into boxing? I know you mentioned you liked sports when you were younger. Have you just been a boxing fanatic your whole life, or?
No, it was totally an accident, honestly. I never meant to be where I am right now. About 2-3 years ago, someone dragged me to a kickboxing class. It was fun. I just wanted a good workout to see what it was like. I honestly didn't plan on returning when I left, but the next day I forgot to put sneakers in my gym bag for work. You don't wear shoes to those classes, so I just said, hey, I'll go back for another one where I don't need shoes so I can still get a workout in. And after that, I was hooked on the kickboxing thing. So I did that for a while and eventually transitioned to another fitness-based gym that solely focused on boxing. So still we did just like bag work there. There wasn't a lot of technique thrown into it. So I'm just trying to sweat, burn some calories, and go home and eat tacos at that point.
Amen.
Always. So I did that for about a year. It wasn't tailored to anyone who might want to fight or compete at any point in time. So the thought hadn't crossed my mind until I was probably about 9 months into that. And I started working. I got bored. It's like, okay, I've kind of done all I can do with this fitness thing. I want to learn a little bit more about it. So I started working one-on-one with one of the coaches there, and we were just working on some boxing footwork, your basic techniques, some mitt work where he would hold them for me and I would throw some punches and feel like I was really doing something great. And, he mentioned to me one time, he was like, "Oh, would you ever be interested in like putting on some headgear and sparring?" And I said, "I'm 28. I don't want to get hit in the face. It's happened to me before. Didn't love it. Don't want to go there again." He's like, "Oh, you can still fight at 28. Like, you'll be fine." So I kind of said, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll think about it." And then I didn't think about it for a while. And then, eventually a time came where I left the gym that I was at to get a little bit more, open and honest and vulnerable with you. There was someone there who was in my life who shouldn't have been in my life. And my self-confidence was kind of destroyed. And I got to a point where I felt like, I would never be good enough to compete in boxing. Like I had reached my peak. So eventually, instead of just sitting around and feeling sorry for myself and believing that I would never be good enough to compete, I left. I found a gym that trains fighters. And I went there, and that's what I've started doing. Like I started out to it, that was my motivator. Like I wanted to prove someone wrong, prove like, yeah, I can do it. I can fight.
So you're right. Like that motivation to prove someone wrong, that's, in my experience, that's like a good short-term boost, but you need discipline to continue on.
Yeah.
You seem to have a good bit of it. Cause I mean, you mentioned I didn't have my workout shoes, so I went to the gym where I could work out barefoot versus I'm going to carry my ass home. So where does this discipline come from? Where does the resilience come from? And also, how has boxing really reinforced that for you?
I've always, once I get started on something, I do tend to stick with it. I think it's just my fear of the unknown, and I'm drawn towards familiarity. So getting past that first step of getting into it is kind of usually what draws me in. If I can start a habit, I stick with it pretty well. As far as for like motivation, you kind of hit the nail right on the head there. Being motivated just to prove someone else wrong only lasts but for so long. After a couple months of that, like boxing and training with that chip on my shoulder, I wasn't progressing like I wanted to, and I started getting kind of hard on myself about it. Honestly, to the point where I would like leave practice in tears. Like, I'm not getting any better. I got whacked in the head really good sparring, kind of like I was very hard on myself. And that like constant thought in my mind was, "Oh, they were right. They were right. They were right. I can't do this." So once I made the decision to just throw that out the window and forget about it and do it for myself, to accomplish something, something that I can be proud of, that's kind of when my training, changed a little bit. I started being happier when I was practicing. I looked forward to going instead of saying like, "Oh, I don't want to do this today. I just want to go home." So now it's solely for me, and just because it's something I want to do. And that's kind of been a big game changer for me. And I've fallen in love with it. So that's truly incredible, because I found myself in that same situation where I'm like, I'm going to do this and prove everyone wrong. And when that runs out, then you're like, damn, did I just waste 3-4 months doing something that honestly, like, the other person you're trying to prove wrong, they don't give a fuck. They're just like, oh, they're not even thinking about you. So this person is occupying your mind and your spirit, and you're just doing it just for what?
So the fact that you were able to hit that point and then realize like, oh, I can do this for myself and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I would say that there's probably not too many people who could say that.
And it, doing something for outside reasons or for anyone but yourself, like you said, it runs out and it's never going to last that long. And you're never going to be as happy doing it either. So I think once I decided to, stick with it because I loved it and it was something I wanted to do, that's when I really got happy and motivated. And that's when I was able to enjoy some of the other mental aspects and benefits of boxing too. Like when I started training more competitively, I was going through probably one of like the worst bouts of depression, like can't get out of bed, can I even wash my hair today kind of depression. And
I've been there.
Yeah. I was waiting for a joke on that. So it gave me a reason or like something I had to do. Like I have to get up and I have to wake up on Saturday morning and be here at 9:30. I can't go home and go right to bed. I have to go box. So it added like a structure and routine that kind of kept me busy while I worked on snapping out of that depression. So then once all of that was over, I was able to enjoy like the community and team aspect of it. While boxing is an individual sport, there's still very much that team feeling. So my people, shout out over Savage Boxing, my coaches, Minuan and Erica, they're great and they've really created such a good culture of motivating yourself, motivating others and the people around you. So we all are just there to help ourselves and each other get better too. And that's been probably one of the more life-changing parts of it for me, is kind of having a community. Like it's my happy, safe place.
And you mentioned like the mental health benefits. And I started kind of tracking, not to really an obsessive point, but my behaviors and my mood to see if I could find any correlation. And there's so much to like physical activity and doing something physical that you like doing that really correlates, for me personally at least, with my general happiness. And I think that sometimes that gets discounted, but physical and mental health really go hand in hand. And it sounds like you've learned that as you've gone through your boxing journey.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, I know they always say like, oh, getting up and moving will make you happy, your endorphins or whatever. But I really think that, there's so much more to it than that too. Like if you get up and you do a workout when you're not feeling good, you don't want to, and you have no motivation, but you get up and you do it anyway, you end it, you're proud of yourself. You're like, wow, I really accomplished that today. You might have a little more energy to do some other stuff. So it really helps kickstart kind of getting out of that cycle for me. And I'm sure a lot of other people too.
Definitely. And I know you mentioned sparring, and we kind of talked about how, because it's a big leap to go from I like boxing as a workout to I'm going to get in the ring with someone who is trying to knock my head off my shoulders. I want to go back the first time you got your bell rung or even just took a punch. What is going through your mind and what made you want to be like, all right, I'll come back and do this again?
Oh, man. So I did things probably pretty weird and out of order. I put on my headgear and sparred for the first time my second day at the gym that I'm at now.
Good Lord. They got you. They were like, she doesn't know any better. Let's get her in there.
Just see what happens, right? Just throw me to the wolves. But no, nobody hit me that day. So I think after a few times, because people are taking it easy on you, like when you're new, because nobody's here to really hurt each other in your own gym. So I think I knew in the back of my mind they're being easy on me, but it still kind of gave me like an over level of confidence too. I'm like, wow, this is great. I sparred. It was fine. Nobody hurt me. So I was probably about 2 months in, the first time I got cracked pretty good in the head. I'm trying to think of a way to describe it other than just shock. Like it it froze me when I could not move. It was right on my forehead, like right in the middle. My own fault. My hands were probably at my waist. But you can hear it. You can hear like the inside of your head moving when you get hit. And
that sounds awful.
That was the worst part of it for me, was the sound of it. I'm like, my brain, could it be bruised? Is it like, can brains get bruised? And I'm having all these thoughts while I'm in the ring actively sparring. So then I was getting hit more, obviously, because I was just standing there doing nothing. So what a great opportunity. I would capitalize on it too. So that day honestly sticks out to me. And I know I keep getting emotionally vulnerable with you. So I'm sorry if it's uncomfortable. But that situation, and the first time I actually got hit, led me to have a flashback to an abusive relationship that I've been in before. And I think that was kind of a pivotal moment in my boxing journey for me, because I had always wondered if that was going to happen. Like, if I start sparring, am I going to have flashbacks to like previous moments in my life where I did have someone real life after me? And I predicted the future right. It did happen. And I froze for the rest of the round. I had an absolute like mental breakdown afterwards, like sobbing outside, trouble breathing. And in that moment, I said, I'm never coming back here. I'm not going to box again. I'm not cut out for this. But I went home, I thought about it, and I said, I've been hit in the head in the past. I got hit in the head today, and I survived it. These people can't hurt me, and I'm going to keep making it through it. So I went back the next day, and I have not had any of those flashbacks again. Like I had it, I got it out of my system once, and now it's kind of shifted to I feel powerful when I'm in there doing it.
And that's really, I appreciate you sharing that, because that really, to me, when you think of boxing, it is a lot like life. And I've never experienced anything close to what you've gone through, but like, life is going to hit you. And are you going to get back up and fight back? And just the fact that you were able to, in that moment, like, obviously have a completely reasonable reaction and a flashback and all this, but pick yourself up and have the strength to say, I'm still going to do this for me, and I'm still here. I'm a survivor. That is just a great, I hope someone listening can take something from that, because that's huge and everyone needs that.
I agree. And boxing is a lot like life in that aspect too. And I think it's definitely helped me, become more likely to persevere and keep going through stuff in life. I spend, 2 nights a week getting hit in the head for fun. What can the jerk who ran into me with his cart at the grocery store do to me? What can this internet bully who's sending me messages on Instagram do to me? Like, it really puts a lot into perspective too, and makes you realize how strong you are. And mentally, it just changes you, and you react differently in all situations in your life.
And it reminds me of the Mike Tyson quote that popped in my head when you were talking about getting hit for the first time. Everyone has a plan. until they get punched in the face.
Oh, yeah.
And that applies to, like we were just saying, life as well. So is this your first boxing match?
This will be my very first one. Yes. It's a little sooner than I expected it to be, for sure. I had honestly not done any more than like toying around with the idea, like, yeah, something I'll do eventually kind of thing. And I had heard about the event before I was asked to compete in it, because it's been in planning for a while. And they already had, all their boxers, figured out and set up. So what I did was I went, it was a Sunday morning, it was past Super Bowl Sunday. Some teams from my gym went to go to another gym to do some sparring, and there were some people there who were participating in the event also. So in the days after that, I had kind of looked it up, learned more about it. It's like, oh, this is really cool. And then that Thursday, I walked into my gym, and my coaches said, hey, just the person I was looking for. And that's when I found out I actually had the opportunity to compete. I believe there was someone in my weight class who ended up unable to participate. And there's unfortunately not a lot of female boxers in not only just the Charleston area, but everywhere. So that kind of paved the way for me to be able to get in there. And it happened really, really fast. But I'm the kind of person who I love supporting nonprofits and charities of all kinds. So it's been something I've been able to get really excited about. So it's put on by the Charleston Boxing Foundation, and this event is to support MUSC Children's Health and the College of Charleston Athletic Fund for scholarships. So two really great, even though different organizations there. Of course, everyone loves MUSC Children's Health, but I'm a huge fan of anything that gets people who want to participate in athletics, young people in their college careers, able to have the opportunity to do that. So it's been something I've been really excited about. There's going to be, I believe, 24 total boxers, so 12 fights that night. To my knowledge, most are newer to the boxing scene, so that's a really great opportunity for everyone involved to kind of get their feet wet and get into it. And then all the boxers individually have their own fundraising efforts too. So the goal as a whole for the event was to raise $100,000 for the Charleston Boxing Foundation, and it's at about $49,000 as of today.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're still a month out, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good turnout on that. And then each boxer has their individual efforts too. So for anyone wanting some more information about what's going down on April 6th at TD Arena,
let us know.
Yeah. And then the website is chsboxing.com. So you can get to their Instagrams, which they've been really active on there, promoting the event. You can read more about the why behind it, why they're looking to support MUSC Children's Health and College of Charleston Athletic Fund. And then if you want to be really cool, you can click on the Support a Boxer section, and you can see all the different boxers and their fundraising efforts. My name is Rachel. You can find me on there. Go to my page, and you can donate through there. You can pick your amount as little or as much as you want it to be. You can donate anonymously. If there's another boxer you love, you can donate to them too, because it's all going to a good place. So,
but fuck all that. We're donating to Rachel. So the link is going to be in the show notes, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it. You mentioned there's not a lot of women boxers in general, and it's Women's History Month. So I was kind of looking up the history of women's boxing, and USA Boxing did not sanction women's amateur boxing until 1993. So what does it mean to you as a woman to be able to step into the ring and do something that wasn't even a thing until like right before you were born or whatever.
I mean, you know me, Brandon. You know how I'm all about women empowerment. I'm, super excited to be a part of it and contribute to the women's boxing community. One of my biggest goals from it is other girls, teenagers, young women, grown women like me, to see me get in there and have an interest and, maybe believe in themselves that they could do it too. A lot of people, even today, just from being in and around the community, don't necessarily agree with or believe in women boxing and getting in the ring. My grandmother found out that I was boxing, and she said, "Why would you want to do that? That's not feminine at all. Women shouldn't be boxing." And that stereotype is really unfortunate, because boxing could be a very empowering thing for women. And I wear a full face of makeup to boxing every single day. So you can be feminine and box too.
That's good to know. Glad that you also didn't use your skills to knock your grandmother out. Even though you could have
easily. Yeah.
So watch out, grandmothers as well. One quick question just popped in my head. Do you have a nickname yet?
No. You wanna help me out?
We got to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to brainstorm on that. If you have any, drop them in the comments. We've got to figure something out, because you can't be a boxer without a nickname. Those are the rules.
I'm so unoriginal too. I thought about it a little bit just for fun. I don't feel like I might need a nickname in amateur boxing, but it would certainly be fun. I love all the attention I can get. All I could think of was your stereotypical, because I'm Italian, Italian stallion from Rocky or something like that.
Have you seen?
I'm so uncreative.
That's fantastic. Have you seen the Rocky movies?
Rocky's a terrible boxer. I don't want to be anything like him, but
Yo, Adrian. That's all I know from it. And I'm sorry I did that impression now.
It was awful.
Yeah, it was bad. So, this has been great. I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, all the information going to be on the show notes. You can buy tickets to go to it. You should donate directly to Rachel so she raises the most money. Rachel, thanks for being on. This has been another episode of Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, share, or Rachel's going to knock you out. I'll catch y'all next week.